This is a fan-generated show. If you'd like to support us, please go to jamieglazov.com. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our new Rumble channel. All your support is greatly appreciated.
Good evening. Welcome to the Glazov Gang. Tonight, the bathroom harassment of Senator Sinema was funded by leftist billionaires. With us this evening and backed by popular demand, Daniel Greenfield, a Shillman Fellow at the David Horowitz Freedom Center and the editor and writer of the blog The Point at Front Page Magazine. Daniel, welcome back to the Glazov Gang.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you for having me back.
Fantastic. Daniel, we're always flooded by emails. People are just obsessed with your hat. They're always asking me questions about it. You know that I forward those emails to you. Why are you wearing the hat this week? And I think in a recent episode, you weren't wearing it.
Well, I should actually correct what I said. Thank you for having me back. Thank you for having the hat back.
And okay, and can you give us an update on the hat?
Well, the hat is working very well. I never actually get asked about wearing a mask when I walk into a store because I'm already wearing a hat.
Okay, Daniel, fascinating article at Front Page Magazine by you, titled "The Bathroom Harassment of Senator Sinema Was Funded by Leftist Billionaires." It was such a fascinating, profound piece, Daniel, and you bring up, I think, something just so vital that we always think of the left is, you know, representing the downtrodden and the poor and the persecuted, and it's this force of the people, but it's actually, there's another reality there, isn't there? Why don't you tell us a bit about your piece?
That's one of the greatest tricks of the left because it justifies so many of the evil things it does by claiming that it represents the oppressed. It is part of the oppressed. Its organization's always grassroots. Therefore, the people, you have all this constant posturing, yet the basic reality of it, the underlying reality of it, is this is not evil deeds committed by the powerless, but by the extremely powerful who are using people who claim to be powerless as fronts for their operations. So the harassment of Senator Sinema is typical of this. They have a few activists out front. Those activists claim to be immigrants. They claim to be minorities. One of them claims to be a survivor of sexual abuse. Again, behind them is this usual Russian nesting doll collection of organizations. You open out one, there's another one inside. You open another one, another one. And, you know, as a conservative investigative journalist, this is a big part of what you do, where you just untangle all these organizations. And the organization that they're working for, the so-called grassroots Latino organization, is actually funded by all the usual suspects, including George Soros, including some of the biggest foundations in the country, whose net worth actually totals about $40 billion. These people are as far away from powerless as you can get. They are the powerful. And you have to wonder, why are these organizations, these people, these billionaires so obsessed with actually passing Biden's huge $3.5 trillion boondoggle? Why are they so interested in it? It's not because they care about the downtrodden. It's because they have their own interests at stake here. And they dress up these interests, they wrap up their interests in this disguise of advocating for the powerless, of advocating for the weak, of actually being the powerless and the weak. They put these people up front. That's like the equivalent of the chicks to the front thing during Vietnam, where they put up people who seem as if they're not powerful, but those people are just human shields for the real people behind the throne.
Right. Daniel, let's just backtrack a little bit here. Tell us first, because Senator Kyrsten Sinema appears to be against what Biden's doing. Tell us about this thing that Biden is pushing and why it's harmful.
We're talking about 3.5 trillion in spending. If there were nothing else, obviously this is hugely devastating. We're going through a number that's, if this actually goes through, would approximate $10 trillion. These are insane amounts of money. This is debt that we're not going to be able to repay. This brings us closer and closer to the embankment, but that's not even the whole story. This is not about infrastructure. Biden kept pushing this about infrastructure, and then they decided to define everything as infrastructure. Childcare is infrastructure. 250,000 electric car vehicle chargers are apparently infrastructure. Having the IRS spy on you if you're engaging in $600 worth of transactions from your bank account, that's also infrastructure. Everything is now infrastructure. This is a massive power grab. It's going to deprive people of their civil rights. It's going to track you. It's going to very closely monitor everything you do. It's going to track how much mileage you drive. It's going to track if you're even going to be able to start up your car, basic things like that. It's also obviously there's a ton of pork going to a sort of leftist interest, but there's also a lot of power being shifted, again, to the federal government, to leftist cells within that government. And that's what this is really all about. It's about power, it's about money, it's about control, which is really everything that the left does is about ultimately.
Absolutely. There's thank you, Daniel. A couple realms here. I think first of all, we're going into so much debt that there's going to be a collapse. And then, of course, the international new world order or whatever it is going to come and rescue us, and rescue in quotation marks. That's my view anyway. And then, obviously, at the same time, we're entering into this mass Chinese surveillance system, which is going to be worldwide soon. But this is Bolshevism connected to technology. But we're definitely entering a technological 1984 Chinese mass surveillance era, right?
I mean, we are living in one already. The basic reality is your phone is tracking you everywhere you go. The data is being distributed, it's being resold. People, including conservatives, are being tracked that way and they are being surveilled that way. And much of it is information that we are willingly giving away ourselves because the price of entry into this new exciting economy where so many things are free. It's the goblin market. So much stuff is free here, but the price you pay for it is you're giving away your identity, your personality, your information. You're giving them the ability to manipulate you, to track you, to surveil you. Now, obviously, this is all going to get a good deal worse. So what you said is obviously true. It is going to get worse from here, but we are already living to some degree in this kind of panopticon already. It's just going to tighten more and more. We are seeing this all the time. Obviously, the Glazov Gang was wise enough to get out of YouTube. YouTube is cracking down more and more. There are more and more things you're not going to be able to say on YouTube. There are more and more things you're not going to be able to say on Facebook. That's what the whole whistleblower nonsense is about. They're tightening their grip more and more. It's a cartel. It's a cartel that controls speech, that controls what you think and what you believe, and that is built on suppressing enemies of their own ideology, their own grab for power.
Right. Okay. And so what's the negative part of this? That was my sense of humor or attempt at it. We're going to get a word from our sponsors and be right back.
Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. While you're there, make sure to use promo code GLAZOV. You will get yourself a wonderful discount, and generous portion of your purchase will be donated to Glazov Gang channel on YouTube. So the one and only wonderful Dr. Jamie Glazov can keep on fighting for our freedom.
And we are back with the great Daniel Greenfield. Daniel, right before we left, we were talking about this haunting and terrifying Chinese-style mass surveillance system, of course, that we're already in, but that is going to get much worse. This is involved and very much intertwined with what Biden is up to, with all of these things that he's attempting to pass now and force through. Now, Senator Sinema, a moderate Democrat, it appears, is against some of the things that Biden is trying to do. And so some leftist activists followed her into a bathroom recently, filming themselves. What is all that about?
It's about political terror. That's the bottom line. This is what the left does. But it's not a few nutjobs doing this. It's a few nutjobs who are part of an organization called Lucha. Lucha is itself funded by some of the biggest foundations in America. It's part of something called One Arizona, which was set up by the so-called Four Freedoms Fund, which basically includes George Soros, and includes the Carnegie Foundation, and some of really the biggest power player foundations with a net worth of $40 billion. So what you're seeing is the tail end of this massive financing, this massive octopus that is really getting its tentacles around American politics. And you can be, if you're an ordinary person, they will definitely terrorize you. But even if you're a United States senator, even if you're a United States senator who is with the Democrat Party and you interfere with them, they will still terrorize you, which again shows just how extreme they've gotten and to what extent they pose a threat, not just to conservatives, not just to Republicans, but to anybody who stands in their way.
Absolutely. You know, I'm always fascinated by what the left gets away with because of the things that it's for, you know, because they're for equality and they're for fairness. And while they're saying it, you know, tears are just going down their cheeks. And so everything that they're doing to bring that beautiful world to us, it's just justified, you know. And so let's think about this for a minute. Let's think about some conservative activists following Ilhan Omar or Rashida Tlaib or Nancy Pelosi into a bathroom and filming themselves and perhaps her stall or whatever and making a big scene in there. Do you think that Don Lemon and Rachel Maddow and Biden and Kamala Harris would just be so nonchalant about it all? Because, you know, like even Biden during the press conference or whatever, he was saying, well, it's a little bit inappropriate, but it comes with the territory. Would he, do you think, be saying that if it was conservative activists following Ilhan Omar into a bathroom?
I mean, if it were conservative activists, they'd already be in jail. They'd be facing an FBI investigation. They'd be facing a domestic terrorism investigation. We'd be hearing for about a week about how conservatives hate women and, you know, all that sort of thing. No, as a simple example, you had simply parents going into school boards and giving speeches complaining about critical race theory, about children having to wear masks. They're now facing a domestic terror investigation by the FBI. These are the rules of the game. I mean, this is the left a priori discards any idea that there should be equality under the law. The law should serve progressive ends. They should serve what Obama liked to call the right side of history, which means the left. So if you stand for the left, you can get away with doing anything. You can be a Black Lives Matter activist. You can smash store windows. You can beat, assault, murder, burn, do anything you like, and that's perfectly good. You're a racial justice protester. On the other hand, if you're a conservative and you do anything, or even if you're a driver trying to get home and Black Lives Matter people are assaulting you, and you just drive a little bit forward just to intimidate them a little bit so they stop attacking you, and you can be Black yourself, you will still go to prison for years. And this actually is what happens. So the bottom line is the left believes it has unlimited power to do anything, to do everything, because as you've said, they stand for the right things, whereas conservatives have no right to do anything because the law is now subservient to ideology. If you're on the left, then you're one of the good guys. If you're on the right, you're one of the bad guys. And the law exists to empower the left and suppress the right.
Thank you, Daniel. So it's very interesting what this leftist Biden administration is doing on so many levels, what is now domestic terrorism. Because we shouldn't be worried about perhaps the jihadists that might be among the Afghan refugees or these illegal aliens coming through the border. We shouldn't be worried about any of that, but we should be worried about parents that don't want their kids taught critical race theory and hatred of America. So let's just get this straight now. So the Biden administration is now targeting them as domestic terrorists, right?
Yeah, the FBI is opening an investigation that is itself an act of intimidation. It comes with any sort of number of harassing techniques, including eavesdropping, wiretapping, just investigations alone. And remember, particularly when it comes to targeting conservatives, the FBI is really good at process crimes. It's really good at saying, well, you told us something that we determined is not true, even though we can't find a crime to charge you with, we can still charge you with lying to the FBI. Whereas, of course, if you're a Democrat, absolutely no problem. If you're Hillary Clinton and her associates, the FBI will very conveniently hand you immunity agreements and destroy your hard drive. So this is how the game is played.
Daniel, so many horrifying things, and it's all just happening so fast. What state of mind do you find Biden to be in recently?
And Biden is basically weekend at Bernie's. Any functional politician, when facing the kinds of bad poll numbers he's looking at right now, he's looking at a situation where he's dropping fast. There would be a course correction. I mean, if there would be Bill Clinton in office and it would be the 90s, there'd be a major course correction. But Biden is just really a puppet. He's being moved around. I mean, he goes where he's told to go. He's got this set opposite. He's got this White House set, which exists so it can look like he's actually conducting a functional press conference or like he's giving a functional speech, which is something he's increasingly seems not very capable of doing, at least not on demand. So Biden is just being pushed, okay, double down on the stuff, double down on 3.5 trillion, double down on mandatory vaccinations, double down on all the stuff, even as your ratings are falling, because he's not a functional politician. He's just being moved around by his staff, and the staff don't really care if he burns out or not because they're just going to replace him with Kamala Harris or with somebody else.
What do you make of the rumors that it's not Biden, but some kind of a robot figure like Brezhnev was perhaps at one time, or that's just...
Biden's already kind of a robot figure. The guy is just being moved by strings already. You don't really need to replace him with a robot. And I don't think you could replace him with a robot. I mean, what robot could say things like pony dog, lying pony dog soldier, or kind of, it's like it would be a malfunctioning robot that just randomly spews words. Maybe that does explain some things.
Yeah, but Daniel, it's just surreal when he's well, I've been told I can't say this. Now I'm going to get in trouble. And I've been told to ask this person this question. The whole thing is just absurd. But you mentioned this stage thing. The other day he got this booster shot, and it turns out that they had set up some kind of a stage. That was really creepy too, no?
It's weird. It's like the sort of thing you do when you're expecting a nuclear war. You've got the president in the bunker and they have a White House stage set. It's bizarre. But one thing that strikes me, so Representative Adam Schiff has a book out now about the whole Russiagate hoax thing. One of the things he mentions when they finally get Mueller in to testify, and Mueller doesn't know anything that's going on. They're trying to ask Mueller questions. He can't answer questions. And Schiff says, there was obviously a decline there, and we wanted to avoid multi-part questions, narrative questions. This is very similar to what's going on with Biden. You get somebody in, Mueller at the time was, I think, 74, 75, 76 or so, kind of in the Biden age range. He was the public face of this entire Mueller investigation. In practice, he didn't know what was going on. He had absolutely no clue. He was just being used there as a prop. You kind of have a similar situation with Biden. There's all these people behind the scenes. They're the ones actually running things, and they're bringing Biden out, who's moderately functional at best. And he's out there. He can't really answer a lot of questions. So they simplify things. They don't let reporters ask him questions because really he's not functional. I mean, there's kind of a weird history here where they're using these very elderly men who are cognitively impaired, whether it's Mueller or Biden, as fronts for their operation.
Yeah, I'm still a bit confused of the kids in the pool that were rubbing his hairy legs and all that. But let's save that for another show. But I'd like to revisit that because I'm still confused about it. Kamala Harris was on TV a lot. Recently, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see her that often anymore. Are they hiding her or put her away somewhere?
Well, they figured out something very brilliant, which is that when Kamala Harris is on TV, her approval ratings plummet. When she's off TV, her approval ratings actually improve a bit. So the more they keep her off TV, the more her ratings improve. So at the moment, her ratings are actually not as bad as they used to be when she was regularly going to the border or going to South America or just saying things in front of the camera. Now people are kind of forgetting who she is and, oh, I guess she's vice president. Okay, maybe not so bad. I haven't heard anything bad about her lately.
Daniel, she was in some school or class or something recently. There's this one young person was saying something, accusing Israel of genocide in one way or another. And Kamala said that is your truth. That was just, I think one word is disgusting. What did you make of that?
This is what happens when they let her on TV. But yes, I mean, this is basically the Democrats endorsing the vilest, most horrible attacks on the Jewish state, support for the destruction of Israel. And they try to play it both sides. But the bottom line is they're signaling to Iran, they're signaling to Hamas that we completely understand your position. We're kind of on your side. We're going to play a little bit of a game where we go to AIPAC and say some of the right things. But when the anti-Israel crowd asks us something, we are happy to endorse them. So the bottom line is the whole idea that Biden and Kamala Harris are more moderate, that they're more pro-Israel, has been proven to be nonsense because, one, these people actually don't believe in anything. And two, they are very happy to kowtow to the left and to support the worst parts of their agenda, including when it comes to Jews.
Yeah, terrible stuff. Daniel Greenfield, thank you for being a courageous truth teller and freedom fighter on our planet today. Thank you for joining the Glazov Gang.
As always, thank you for all the hard work you do, Jamie.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Everybody, make sure you are going to the blog The Point at frontpagemag.com. That's Daniel Greenfield's blog. It is fascinating. You should be pressing refresh on that page every 5 minutes. And we'll see you soon on the Glazov Gang. Good night. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I recently got one of Mike Lindell's pillows and comforters at mybillow.com. And I started getting some of the most restful sleeps in my life. And you can do the same. Go to mypillow.com and use code GG21 to get incredible and amazing discounts. Or just call 1-800-854-0673. While you're doing that, you'll know that you're supporting Mike Lindell, a true American hero fighting a true American cause. And you'll also be supporting the Glazov Gang. Thank you. May God bless you, and may God bless America.